Now, before we get into this very cool video about video games, comparing the then and the now, I had a quick question. Me and Firedog have been talking recently about maybe starting a gaming channel, a Sinfinite Gaming, if you will. And I'm curious if you guys would watch me as you know, Stick Figure Sin in the little corner of the screen play video games. You know, I like video games, and maybe me and Tyrone and the cast of Sinfinite Channel could play some games. You know, me, Tyrone, Kyle, Pee-wee, TJ, you know, who knows, bro? Big Tim, Big Tim here. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just thought maybe it'd be cool to make a gaming channel, but I don't know if y'all would watch. If you will watch though, then I want you to hit this little eye right here in the corner, right? Or go to the pinned comment or description, either one. It doesn't really matter. And subscribe to the channel because I'm gonna make some gaming videos. Bye. Your boy Sin has been a gamer for most of his life, and that's why today I want to talk about how I feel about games nowadays compared to how I felt about games growing up. This is games in the early 2000s versus 2024. Now I broke this down into 8 different chapters, y'all. This might be a little bit of a longer video. I ain't gonna lie, I dropped a 20-minute video a couple days ago. Y'all was rocking with that, John. I ain't gonna hold you. I know y'all like them longer Johns. Pause on that, y'all. So I'm about to give y'all something real long, meaty, and girthy. All right, that was crazy. Chapter 1, the feel. This is how I feel about the games, whether it's when it was early on or now. How I feel when I'm playing them, how I felt at the time of playing them. Is it the same? Is it different? Let's dig into that. So first and foremost, in the early, 2000s, late 1990s, whatever, I feel like gaming was a little bit different. I'm gonna try to use the time frame of 95 when I was born up until, 2007, 2008, because I feel like comparing that time frame to, 2020, 2019 to 2024 is about right. So when I say then and now, that's what I'm talking about, just so y'all know moving forward. Now, obviously, back in the day, Acura days, you feel me, on my Drake shit, I felt like games had a more of a homey feel to it. I felt more immersed and more, I guess, comfortable playing them. But I feel like that can be wrapped up in with nostalgia. I mean, for a lot of reasons nowadays, when I play the same games from, 95 to 2005 or whatever, it's not the same as when I played them as a kid. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with just growing up differently. See, back in the day, I will say it did feel like, to me at least, that I was like into the game more. It was weird. It kind of felt like I was in like a real virtual reality version of the game, but obviously we didn't have VR back then. But I felt like I was lost in the game. Like the creators of the game, maybe they cared a little bit more. Not saying they don't care nowadays, because you got amazing ass games like Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3. But I mean, back then you had stuff like Super Mario 64 and Donkey Kong Country. Everything had a sense of just like, I guess it is just nostalgia when I think about it, but it just, everything felt more retro, more just interactive in a way. Whereas nowadays, I feel a little bit different. The same, but different. In a way of like, I guess nowadays, I still feel, comfortable playing the game. I still feel immersed, but I feel immersed for different reasons. And we can use like Baldur's Gate 3 for an example. When I started playing that game, I felt super immersed in the world because I had so many different options, so many ways I could go about doing my playthrough. You didn't have that many options back then. Like back then, a lot of the games were more linear. They did have some RPGs in the 2000s. They had, Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, things like that. But they were turn-based games with a lot of like linear things to them. Like obviously Chrono Trigger is a huge game. You could go a bunch of different ways. But I feel like in like Baldur's Gate, for example, you get to make a lot of decisions. Even going back further, like Skyrim, Fallout, things like that. You just get to make so many different decisions that every time you play the game, it felt like a new game. And I guess in a lot of ways, I like that. That goes into like something we're going to talk about later, one of the chapters. We're not there yet. If I had to summarize the feel, how I feel about games now to then, I felt like before there was more love in it. And I feel like now there's still love, but I think they're trying to like hone in on all the new mechanics and new different innovative things in games that a lot of the time I feel like the love goes into that and less of the plot and how I feel playing the game. When I got into Super Mario 64, for example, when you go straight to Bomb on Battlefield, you just instantly, you just feel love. Like, yo, this is super fun. I'm happy right now, bro. Whereas nowadays it's more epic and super, climactic scenes, and the aesthetics very crisp, clean, in your faces. It's more direct with them trying to be innovative and give you new features. And I would say that goes into our next chapter, the gameplay. Completely unbiased, no nostalgia involved. The gameplay in today's games are just better. It is what it is. There's more quality in today's gameplay than in the older games in a lot of different ways. Now, of course, you got those scam games where they'll come out with something new. I forgot, it was that one game that came out recently. They put that joint on Steam and it was like up for like a day or two and they took it down or something. It was some sort of like, I don't know what was going on. I don't know if it was money laundering. I don't know, bro. But, sometimes you get those types of games. However, for the most part, I feel like there's just more quality in today's gameplay simply because there's more technology. Things are way more innovative because they have more to do with. Like back in the day, you kind of are stuck to very linear like coding and design because there wasn't all this new shit out. Wasn't all these high power computers and things like that can animate different scenes for you and render things out at high qualities. Nowadays, we got like Unreal Engine and things like that. We didn't have all that back then. This what you got, bro. All right, we got a 3D platformer. Like Super Mario 64 was so ahead of its time. It was the first time where like a 3D platformer, I feel like really got the job done. Comparing that gameplay to now, it's like not even fair. So obviously I would give the nod to today's games when it comes to gameplay. Like, for instance, right? Look at how beautiful Elden Ring was. Editor, insert the clip of you walking out into the world of Elden Ring real quick, bro, and just show the beauty. Like, you can't compare that to I don't know. Let's show James Bond GoldenEye, a classic. Comparing the gameplay from that to this, it's just not fair, bro. So I'm gonna give the nod to today's games when it comes to gameplay, but I mean, that's kind of obvious. However, I will say in defense of the old games, for its time, I feel like a lot of the gameplay of certain games was super ahead of its time. Like I mentioned, Super Mario 64, Tomb Raider on PS1, I think it's Shadow of the Colossus or something like that on PS2. That game was crazy. Like a lot of games were ahead of its time, I'm not gonna lie. Even the jump from like Grand Theft Auto 3 up into San Andreas, like just beautiful. Chapter 3, we have online differences. I feel like this is kind of self-explanatory. Back then, and back then, obviously, I'm talking Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 2 days. Toxic, bro. Super toxic, super duper toxic. Bunch of racism and just terrible, bro. To where today, where you still got on certain games, it's terrible. Like, it's terrible on certain games, but it's not terrible how it was, bro. Back in the day, it was way, way worse. They had emblems in Black Ops 2. You could hop into a Call of Duty lobby, scroll down the whole lobby, and there's people with KKK things in the background, just racial, words, all types of stuff, bro. I feel like the differences in toxicity definitely giving a nod to back then. I will say the online differences as far as gameplay and just how smooth it is, I definitely give the nod to nowadays. Sometimes you got those games where the online is kind of ass. I'm not gonna lie, there are games like that, obviously. But for the most part, it's smoother, it's more seamless. You don't gotta really run into too much, like as far as, loading time and things like that, unless your internet sucks. But if you get frame drops and stuff on Fortnite, that's your computer's fault or your internet's fault. That's not the game itself fault. Sometimes though, Fortnite do be tripping with the server. Like I be hardlined on a powerful computer and I still got like 100 ping, because that just happens in those lobbies sometimes. But I mean, for the most part, it's much smoother. I mean, back in Black Ops days, bro, you would get that thing where your game would lag and it would just show you the image of the Ethernet cord, and that joint's getting plugged out, plugged in, plugged out. That joint is terrible, bro. Chapter 4, how fun are they, bro? I think that games back then are fun, more fun, bro. It's only because I feel like back in the day when you would play games, you played with your homies in person more often. Nowadays, you play online games, but y'all are just in like a Discord or in the lobby. It's not an in-person thing. Back in the day though, bro, you meet up with your homies, y'all running matches on Smash Bros on the 64, y'all running GoldenEye. Then, you know, even when you got up the Black Ops Modern Warfare 2, bro, we would play the motherfucking co-op on a split screen, go against each other, and we would tape like have a box taped on the middle of the TV so you couldn't like screen peek, bro, because screen watching was so lame. A box would lay on your head and you would just play underneath there. They would play over top. Y'all couldn't screen watch, bro. That was lit. I feel like that's a lot of reason why I feel like I had more fun back then, is because of that. Simply because I feel like you play with your friends way more often. It just hit different, bro. Nowadays, games are fun, and when they are more fun nowadays, I feel like it's because of the game itself is so crazy and ahead of its time. Like, if I compared OG Demon Souls to Elden Ring, it's like obviously I'm gonna have more fun on Elden Ring. There's way more stuff to do, way more cool like mechanics, way more weapons. The co-op is awesome. Like, so I feel like I can't give the nod to one in particular. However, I feel like both games are more fun in their own right for different reasons. With the older games being more fun because you're in person with your homies, and the new games being more fun because I'm not gonna lie, like the games are just way better. Like quality wise, at least. Like as far as story goes or plot, like I don't know. It depends on the game, but I would still give the nod to nowadays for that. Chapter 5, quality, bro. Simple and plain. I feel like this is the same as Chapter 2, bro. The new games just have more quality, bro. They're better ran, they're smoother, there's more stuff going on, there's better mechanics, the more innovation. Like, I just feel like it's hard to give the nod and quality to the older games unless you're speaking specifically about how much fun you're having in the game, the writing of the game and things like that. Then you can kind of get into those nuanced conversations. It's like, okay, well, yeah, the new games might have better quality as far as how they run and things, but the older games, they got quality as far as the story and the plot of the game are better. They cared about it more, they put more love in it. Like, there's a lot of nuanced arguments you can have when comparing quality of games, new to old, like for sure. Chapter 6, replayability. This is something that we talked about early on. I said we would touch on something later. Well, this is what I was talking about, bro. How replayed are the games? I feel like the games nowadays are much more able to be replayed, in my opinion, just because every time you replay the more diverse and deeper games, it's like a new game every time. Baldur's Gate has over 10,000 ways to die in the ending, and there's like multiple ways the game can end. You know, Elden Ring, every time you play that game, new game plus, you run back, you do a different build. What else? What other game is super new? What just came? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Liza P, another game you can replay, different build. What else came out? Lords of the Fallen, same thing. Wulong. Like, I'm naming all the Souls-likes game because I like Souls-likes. But man, even other stuff like what else? Dragon's Dogma 2 is about to drop. Again, I know that's gonna have a lot of decisions, just like the first game, a lot of different ways you can run the game, different classes and things like that. There's just so much in these games nowadays where it's like, yo, every time I replay the game, I'm playing a new game damn near. Whereas in the older games, it was more linear for the most part. You beat the game, and yeah, you replayed it because you're just like, oh, this game is awesome, but it's the same shit every time. Nothing really changes. You can't really change depending on the decisions you're making. That didn't really start happening until, like, you know, early Fallout, like Fallout 1, Fallout 2, things like that. You know, early Elder Scrolls 2, like Mirrodin, is it Mirrodin? Nah, Morrowind? I think it's Morrowind, actually. Things like that, but that came a little bit later down the line a little bit, whereas like early on, it's like, okay, just what you got, that's it. And you beat the game, and then you just, you know, you replay it over and over again though, because it's still fun, which I gotta give points to the older games. It's like the fact that the games aren't brand new and crazy every time you replay them, and they're still being replayed and have replayability. says a lot about the quality of the entertainment and writing in the older games. So I'm gonna give this like 60% in favor of new games, but old games, I gotta give points to them too, bro. Chapter 7, I want to talk about our mindsets playing these games, right? I wanted to touch on this because I feel like a lot of this has to do with me changing, growing up, getting older. When I was younger and playing these games, I was a kid and my mindset was very much different, very much young. However, I feel like moving forward into nowadays, I'm a little older. My attention span's a lot less. It's harder for me to replay things. So if I find a game that I'm replaying over and over again, and nowadays times, like I said, nowadays times, like I'm fucking born in the 1800s, I feel like that gives a lot of points to the newer games. Cause it's like, yo, my attention span is that of a hamster in a wheel right now. So the fact that I'm still wanting to play this game, I want to play this game all the time, goes to show like the newer games, what they got to offer. I feel like older games, I was a kid, so like I could sit down and play a game for 8 hours, 9 hours, just all day playing the same shit, trying to beat the same thing on the same game because I'm a kid. And that's just like how my mind worked. Whereas nowadays, and that just don't happen unless the game is super gas. So I definitely feel like our mindset has a lot to do with how we feel about games. And last but not least, chapter 8, innovation, bro. I feel like the newer games are highly innovative. They're trying things never tried before. We got VR. We got, games where you can scan your fucking face and body and it'll make the character look like you. They have, all of the different decisions you can make, all the different new games with new stuff. Like there's just so many things in the new games because the new games have the benefit of having all this time to perfect this craft. It's like watching Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Like it had the luxury of having Fullmetal Alchemist come out, getting to see all the criticisms and getting to delve upon those criticisms and make something basically perfect, or same with Hunter x Hunter. We got Hunter x Hunter, the 90s Hunter x Hunter, but then they had that luxury of seeing how Hunter x Hunter performed, what people liked, what they didn't like, and then they got to make Hunter x Hunter 2010, I think, or something like that. I can't remember, but the new one, and it's super gas because they had that luxury of seeing where they would have went wrong before and things like that. So I feel like that's the luxury that new games have. They get to expand upon all the old shit. They get to work on the old things, make it better than it was before. So I feel like I'm giving the nod to new games with innovation, but just due to the fact that they had more time to do things, bro. And that is how I feel about games then versus now.